Hi guys, it's me, Melissa. How are you? Gonna do our daily draw for today. Today is the 25th of March. Wow, we're almost at the end of March, 2020. So I'm gonna use the Fairy Tale Oracle today by Lucy Cavendish and Jasmine Beckett Griffith. So here are the backs. I love the backs of these cards. And I etched these in a pretty like a goldy brown color. They're real pretty. So hope you guys had a good day today. Mine was a little on the difficult side. Had some news that wasn't very good. But I don't want to talk too much about that. So, but other than that, the day was kind of a lazy day. I really didn't do much of anything. I don't know, since this coronavirus thing, I don't know, I'm getting pretty lazy. Not wanting to do much, so. So how are you guys doing with everything? Hopefully everything's good and you're not bored to death. I am sipping a cup of tea right now. Just regular black tea. I was just in the mood for black tea, so. And here's my cup. It's just a regular flowered cup that I have. It'll probably keep me up all night. That's the thing. Okay. All right, let's do a little shuffle here. Angels, guides, and spirits, tell us what we need to know today, March 25th of 2020. Is there anything we need to know today? If I don't grab all the cards, angels, guides, and spirits, is there anything we need to know today, March 24th of 2020? All right, one more time. We got 4 cards, guys. Didn't we had 4 cards yesterday too, I think. No, we had 5 cards yesterday. Okay, so let's start. We have Gretel for ingenuity. We have Puss in Boots for wit. We have What Came of Picking Flowers for greed. And we also have Dawn the Golden Haired for duty. Okay, so let's start with Gretel. Okay, Gretel. Ingenuity. She pushed poor Gretel out to the oven, from which flames of fire were already darting. Creep in, said the witch, and see if it is properly heated, so that we can put the bread in. And once Gretel was inside, she intended to shut the oven and let her bake in it, and then she would eat her too. But Gretel saw that she had a mind and said, I do not know how I am to do it. How do I get in? Silly goose, said the old woman. The door is big enough. Just look, I can get in myself. And she crept up and thrust her head into the oven. Then Gretel gave her a push that drove her far into it and shut the iron door and fastened the bolt. Oh, then she began to howl quite horribly. Without fear or the occasion that caused it, there would be no need for valor. There would be no occasions for Hansel to practice the loving solitude for his sister. that brought about his words of comfort and shrewd plan to come safely back home. I lost my place, guys. Okay. The same came to be for Gretel at the story's end, which Hansel locked away. She had no one to rely on but herself. The fear she felt for herself and Hansel led to courage. Her courage led her to cleverly avert disaster and save herself and her brother. Both children reacted rightly to their fears. There is nothing good about fear, and fear alone. But the experience of fear, in its raw and hideous reality, can lead to valor, dignity, and ingenuous ideas in less than a moment. This card teaches that young women face many dangers, and this may be the cause in your life, or you may experience danger earlier within your life. There is more than a good ending to your own personal story, and the betrayal by adults within your young life has not lessened the love that your peers and your adopted family have for you. You have shown again and again that when pressure comes, you will not let fear take you down. You rise to the occasion and overwhelm all adversities. You have faced that which frightens all of us, and you have come through. You have also been tremendously let down by the grown-ups in your life. They failed in their duty, and it is so important that you realize that it never was, never will be your fault, that they failed you so deeply. And now it is your turn to help younger people, particularly young ones who have suffered at the hands of their own parents. Tell your story and guide younger people to create for themselves safe, loving spaces, relationships, and families. Your strategies and abilities must be passed on, even if it is the most simple of ways. Contact with younger people will not only be good for you, but good for the young ones who can learn from you. Well, that's pretty cool, because I feel as if in my job, and here is Gretel, I feel as if in my job, I do a lot of that. I see a lot of stuff that probably a lot of you have never seen, or you really don't want to see in my job. So having those children and taking care of those children and teaching those children and talking to those children is something that's why I love my job. So I think all of us need to show the younger generation about love. The meanings of this card are: you will show courage under difficult circumstances. Well, we're in a difficult circumstance right now, and we all need to step up. People love helping you. You are a true defender of friends and family. You work well in teams, unite against a common foe. You are resourceful, quick thinking, and protective. So that is for Gretel. So now let's go to Puss in Boots. Is Wit. Let me show you guys the card. Puss in Boots. I love this card. I don't know what that little dot is there. Well, I can't get it off of there unless I go over here. So there's Puss in Boots. So let's read about Puss in Boots. Puss ventured back into the room and began to compliment the ogre on his cleverness. Of course, it was all very wonderful, he said, but it would be more wonderful still if you, who are so great and fierce could transform yourself into something timid little creature, such as a mouse, that I suppose would be quite impossible. This is the famous tale of seemingly insignificant friendships and gifts bringing us great blessings. For Puss, it is the only inheritance our young hero receives from his father, while his brother seemed to receive so much more. But in truth, this inheritance is everything his brother received and so much more. For this cat is determined to use his considerable intelligence and charm to raise the boy up to the stature of a prince, literally a rags to riches story. And all the boy must do is as the animal tells him. In many ways, this tale is morally ambiguous. Puss does lie and trick and deceive and flatter his way upward. However, he also saves his life, the life of his master, so many times. And so, to me, this tale suggests a deeper relationship, and that this clever cat who wears boots and speaks and thinks faster than anyone else is truly this boy's guide. Everything the boy gains is due to Puss. And the tale never suggests there is any reputation to be made for the use of wits, rather than work in the gaining of status, esteem, and treasures. So if you have received this card, please look around you and for the blessings that have been given to you. They may seem extraordinarily humble. Who inherits a cat? But what if the cat is wisest and most clever being of all? The tale also suggests that we respect the wisdom of the natural world, which has no compunction about using wit, camouflage, and hunting skills to live and prosper. Nature does not judge the hunter or say the butterfly is deceitful because it resembles a flower and thus is protected. Look about you for clues and cues from nature, and most especially any animals you are particularly drawn to or close to. They are your allies, and their messages can lead to great achievements. This is a moral story, and it is sometimes judged as unworthy for being so. But its immorality is valuable. It makes us question, what would I do to rise, to do well? What are the politics of status in the world? Does Puss simply know how the world works? And is he gifting all this knowledge and wile to the boy without any thought of payment? For it seems that Puss delights in the use and exercise of his intelligence. And when is wit and politics worth drawing upon? For Puss is a great diplomat, a wily lifesaver, a creature of two worlds, whose charm is put to immense use, and whose loyalty is unquestionable. And if this card has come to you in the very simplest terms, it is time that you use some cunning, some true genius, and to have your wits about you and see opportunities out rather than await them to come to you. So this card means wit, intelligence, and charm, charisma, persuasion, animal totems, a great and clever friend, a journey into a new life, wit and wiles, diplomacy and persuasion, success through optimizing every opportunity. So this is telling us to use our wit, use our charisma and our persuasion to get something maybe that we want. A great friend, a clever friend could mean a great new journey into life. So that's what this card is suggesting. Now let's go to what came with picking flowers. 23. Okay. Let me take a sip of this, guys. Okay. There was once a woman who had 3 daughters whom she loved very much. One day the eldest was walking in a water meadow when she saw a pink growing in the stream. She stopped to pick the flower, but her hand was scarcely touched it when she vanished altogether. The next morning, the second sister went into the meadow to see if she could find any traces of the lost girl. And as a branch of lovely roses lay trailing across her path, she bent down to move it away. And in so doing, could not resist plucking one of the roses. In a moment, she too had disappeared, wondering what could have become of her 2 sisters. The youngest followed in their footsteps and fell a victim to a branch of delicious white jasmine. So the old woman was left without any daughters at all. I'd never heard that story. This is a rare old tale, makes good use of the enchanted number of 3. And thus, when this card comes to you, know that the power of 3 is being enacted and activated within your life. Okay, guys, the power of 3. Throughout the story, 3 daughters are lost when they pick flowers for you. This is a message to be sure that what you take is yours to begin with. It is not a time to reap, but a time to sow instead. If there is a consequence of any action in the past, you will have help in the form of a young male who will use his wits and charm to assist. As the brothers does in the tale, your family will offer you help. Any relationships that you are in that are not working will transform. In each of their marriages of daughters does too. Each is freed, even by doing the impossible, killing a man who cannot be killed. So no matter how entrapped you may feel by destructive relationships and poor choices you have made, know that there is always a solution, and that solution is on its way to you now. The dove within the tale is the beginning of a new time of peace and pure love for you, and a return to people, friends, and family who have isolated yourselves from. So, what came of picking flowers is greed. So it's saying, don't be greedy. It's not a time to reap, it's a time to sow. Okay? There is always a way, and you will find one. Do not take more from nature than what you need. Nature will offer the solution to all your problems. Stay calm. Stake your claim. The threefold law. A return from nature, slipping away from family and friends, a time in another environment, a way to return to your home, a helpful and kind young man. So remember the 3. Okay. Okay, the last one is Dawn, the golden-haired. Let me show you this one. This one's for duty. Trying not to get the shadows in there. So that's her. She set him free with her own hands. Then she placed a gold crown on his head and a royal cloak on his shoulders. Come, she said, I make you my king. A young princess had hair the color of the sun at first light, and she wore it about her cloak to both hide within and feel safe behind. She was so lovely, she was named Dawn, and all who beheld her gave away a piece of their heart to her. A great king who beheld her fell so deeply in love, he went to her father and to her mother and asked for her hand. But they said it was Dawn's decision to make, and she loved her home well and wished only to belong to herself. And the king went away and chose a bright and good young man to plead his case, for the king was too busy with the matters of state to conduct a romance. So the young man went away, and although he was fine to gaze upon, and well made and strong, canny and fine, he was humble at the trust his king had given to him. As he thought of how he could win the princess for his king, he took to the woods, where he always felt most at peace. He passed a small lake and saw a fish out of the water, choking on the air, wiggling desperately towards the water. He gently picked it up and gave it back to the waters, and the fish leaped high in the silver waters, thanking him, promising him a good deed when he had need. The young man smiled, for how could a fish help him win the hand of Dawn, the golden-haired? A little later, he saw a crow being hunted by an eagle, and he climbed high and chased off the eagle, feeling that for this day he could sure be humble, did as well as the mighty. And the crow thanked him too, and promised him a reward when the time came. And the young man smiled, a crow to come to his aid. Then he came upon an owl, caught within a net left by humans, and he delicately freed the owl, not wishing damaging it in any way. The owl gazed at him, sleepy and wearily, after a long night's struggle, and promised her favor when the time came. At last, he knew what he could do to gain the favor of the princess for his king. He found her 2 playful puppies and headed for the castle. Dawn readied herself again, knowing that she would marry none. For unbeknownst to the young man, a huge ogre who lived nearby had sworn to make Dawn his own, and she knew if she had married another, it would bring death upon the man and upon all in her kingdom. But when he came to her with the fine, playful little dogs and the kindness shining from his eyes, she felt herself falling in love and told him of her need. But he said her hand was intended for his king, and he was merely his messenger, and he insisted that he must try to win her hand. So she sighed and gave him her first quest, to find a lost ring, which had fallen from her slender fingers in the swamp. And to his surprise, the fish he had saved brought him the ring. But she did not wish to marry the young man's king, for she was falling in love with his messenger. So a second quest was given, that the giant with the yen for her must be thwarted, destroyed, so she and her kingdom could be freed. The young man left, and as he approached the giant Abdode, made of the skeletons of former adversaries, his friend the crow, dove, dove from the skies and plucked out the eyes of the giant. The ogre fell to the ground, writhing in pain, and the young man unsleeved his sword and took his head. This was not enough, for Dawn had fallen so deeply in love with this young man before her, she wished only to send him on his way. So she could not be reminded of what she could never have. But he succeeded in the third task too, with the help of the wise owl to his rescue. And so she married the king, who then threw the loyal young man into prison, as he could see how Dawn adored him. And finally, due to his own jealousy, he passed away. Dawn was finally able to marry the man she adored, set herself free, and keep her kingdom free too. The story is about a love that seems thwarted, but which does eventually come to be. So this is a card of hope. It is a card of duality, reluctantly, duty, but honorably done. And it is a card about happily ever after, as Dawn and her true love lived, along with their two little dogs, of course. So the meaning of this card brings power brings responsibility. Duty has rewards. Patience, all will be well in the end. A time of recognition and success is coming. True love finds its time. Your good turns now will be rewarded. Beauty and goodness are their own riches. So guys, I hope that helped today. Like I said, we have Gretel for ingenuity, Puss in Boots for wit. We have What Comes of Picking Flowers for greed. And we have Dawn, the golden-haired, for duty. So I hope that helps you guys today. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day. And keep safe. Bye, guys. I love you.